Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Great People TV. Hope you're really, really well. Sorry that I haven't brought an episode to our screens lately, but I was quite busy with the Southeast Asian Games in Cambodia. I was helping the women's football team at the recent SEA Games. So more about that if you want to read about that on my Instagram and my other social media at @BenIbrahim_. But please, as usual, please support Great People TV, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and yeah, that's basically our social media platforms. But tonight, we've got a very, very special guest, as usual. I'll be very honest with you. He's a very busy man. I've been tracking him for a very, very long time. Well, in the flesh or on digital flesh, the one and only Brendan Gan, who is the captain of the Selangor Football Club here in Malaysia. He's won many, many domestic titles in Malaysia, and he's also part of the Malaysian national football team that's trying to progress further up the FIFA rankings, and hopefully one day Malaysia will qualify for the World Cup, inshallah, God willing. Brendan, thank you so much for being on Great People TV, man. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me, first of all. I know it's taken a while to get to this point, but yeah, it's great to be here and I'm looking forward to having a good
Absolutely.
chat
Like
with
I
you.
said, Brendan, it's very, very toned down compared to your very serious football interviews on when you play your football matches and you're giving your captain's report to the relative pundits of this world. But tonight it's just a digital coffee shop conversation. Basically, I mean, you've had such an amazing football career here in Malaysia ever since you took the plane from Perth, where you're originally from. You're from Sydney,
From
sorry, from
Sydney,
Sydney, and you're with your
Yeah,
Australian mother and your father from Seremban, and you said okay, I'm
yes,
gonna
correct.
go and get back in touch with the roots, the Malaysian football way. So how do you
Mhm,
look at this journey for
mhm.
you coming back to Malaysia, and not just coming back to Malaysia, but playing football for Malaysia?
Yeah, I guess looking back on it now, it's been a long time since I made that move, but looking back on it now, it was, for me, I guess, a risky move. I think a lot of young players do go through that sort of part of their career where they think, am I stagnating? Do I need a different avenue or different pathway for the career? Well, just a different adventure. And I know a lot of people, I know a lot of players in Malaysia. They also go through that at a young age as well. And I thought that this was such a good opportunity to, get back to my father's home country. And I've obviously been here on holidays a lot of times and got a lot of family still here in Seremban and in KL and really all over Malaysia. My father had quite a big family. So, yeah, they all kind of dispersed all across Malaysia and all across the world in different countries. So, yeah, to get back here was for my father, an amazing thing. He was so happy for me to get back here and really, test myself in uncharted waters, I'd probably say. And I didn't know what I was coming into. I came from Sydney FC, where we had just won titles. We won championships. And, we were part of like a really, quite a professional background in terms of facilities, in terms of how they manage the clubs and the A-League becoming more of a force within Asia. And, for me to make that move was, I wouldn't say a culture shock, but a shock in terms of what I was expecting. A lot of people say they go across the world or go across to other countries and they don't have expectations. But really in the back of their mind, they do have some sort of expectations because of where they have come from, right? So for me, it was just about enjoying football again and doing what I love, which is competing and getting on the pitch and really testing myself to see what I can become and how I can really fulfill my potential. So it was a good decision for me to come back to Malaysia and really learn what my father went through when he was growing up as a kid. And, it was a great time for me coming back to Sabah first. And, then I moved to Kota Baru and then Perak and now Selangor. So I've kind of
You're a
been
true
all over the
Malaysian.
place in Malaysia. And, it's been, yeah. So I had a lot of experience within Malaysia and in different areas. And it's been amazing, to be honest with you. I've learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the culture, and I've really, really enjoyed my time in Malaysia so far.
Fantastic. So how old were you when you came to Malaysia from Sydney?
So I was 24 when I first stepped into Malaysia, and I came actually as a foreign player to
Right.
Sabah, and we didn't have the best of years that year. It was the first year that Malaysia was allowed foreigners back into the league.
Yeah. Yep.
There was 2 foreigners only allowed, and yeah, we didn't do amazing that year. It was kind of a year for me to step outside of my comfort zone and not have that silver platter of a professional club in terms of, again, the facilities. Everything is done for you before you even turn up to the ground, and the training session. All you really have to do is focus on football, right? But as a foreigner coming to Sabah, beautiful, beautiful place in Kota Kinabalu, one of the most amazing places that I've ever lived, and still have a lot of friends within that team and over in KK as well. And my time there, I would never say was a disappointment. Obviously, it was a disappointment in terms of how the results were at the end of the season. But at the end of the day, I learned a lot about Malaysia, a lot about myself. Had a lot of growth within that year, and it was just an amazing time for me to be able to progress my career.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I know I didn't send you this question in the email or the WhatsApps that I sent you, but I have to ask you this question because, like you said, I don't like the word foreigner. I like to use the word international talent. You came to Malaysia two words really. You came to Malaysia as an international talent, but then you became Malaysian. And
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia is not an easy country for an international talent because Malaysia, unlike most countries, you're only allowed one passport. So tell us about that sacrifice because you come from the mad sporting country of Australia. And I studied
Mm-hmm.
in Australia, as you can tell,
Yep.
and for a long time. And I know every kid there dreams about wearing the green and gold.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that dream of not had to sacrifice that dream of the green and gold, but wearing the yellow Harimau Malaysia. I mean, it's two different things, but you had to make a choice. So tell us about that choice.
Yeah, it's funny when you use the word not necessarily international, but talent.
Yep.
I guess like when I was growing up, I've never been that talented player in terms of I'm not going to step on the field and do 10 step overs, beat a player, beat another player, and put a top corner, right? So I never saw myself as that player, and I saw myself as the motivator, the hard worker, the person to lead the pack when things aren't going well, when things become tough. I was always that one that would go beyond anyone, or I'll try to outwork anyone on the field. I think that was the way that I was able to find my path within football. And as you say, Australia is you could play every single sport growing up as a child, right? And you still wouldn't know which one you would prefer. So I was that type of person. I grew up playing every type of sport, whether it was individual or team related. My parents really liked me to just be involved in everything and anything that I could be involved in. They could see that it was probably just to get rid of me because I was probably a bit of a handful as a kid. I probably had too much energy. I was running around and so they probably put me into every sport just so I could come home and sleep well at night. So I played a lot of sports back in Australia, and I'm grateful for that because I have that background of being able to pick up really anything and run with it and have fun doing it as well. So I'm grateful for that from my parents. But my father has a background in football. He played in Malaysia and not at a high level, but then he went to Australia and played at a semi-high level. And he was the one that's always loved football from a young age. He got me into loving West Ham as a team. And maybe that's not the greatest thing that I should be sharing with everyone because it's not a top four, but they've always been my team that I support, and so I do have that background of football with my father, and it came down to really, which not many people know about. I had to kind of choose between badminton and football. In terms
Oh,
of badminton, obviously Australia aren't the greatest in the
No,
world,
no.
right? So I just did it because I enjoyed it, and my father loved it. And obviously, with the Malaysian background, he got us into a badminton club in Australia, and yeah, I just ran with it because it was something that I enjoyed and was okay at as well. So yeah, got to a state to national level, and yeah, I had to choose between them. And my father said, whatever you love more, go with what your heart feels. So, yeah, football was the one because I think I'm a very team orientated person.
Yep.
I feed off energy of players around me. And I also, as I said, love to motivate and hopefully, that will turn into results at the end of the day. So I was always, moved towards football a little bit more and drawn to it. So yeah, I ran with that and went through the whole rep upbringing in Australia. And once I found my calling in terms of going through the rep process, the representative process, that was when I really put the work in to become better and better. So yeah, that was kind of like the background of the how the football came about. And my father was a big influence in that, and I'm grateful that he was able to push me towards something that now I really, really love. So yeah, that was kind of a bit of a background into how I got into the football scene within Australia.
Yeah. No, and that's a really good story. And also just the second part of that question that I asked earlier, because I mean, when you came to Malaysia, I mean, you became a Malaysian and,
Yep,
you done
yep,
really, really well. But because you had to make a choice, do I stick to be Australian, or do I go to be a Malaysian, and because
yep,
you can only have one, you can only play for
yep,
Malaysia, or you can play for Australia. So
yep.
was that a tough choice for you?
For me, realistically, I don't think I was good enough to play for Australia. The Australian football team is, made up of European stars. You got Timmy Cahill in there. You had Brett Emerton at the time, if you remember him.
Yeah, yeah,
Aaron
yeah.
Moy. Trent
Stan,
Sainsbury.
Stan
These guys are,
Lazaridis, John Aloisi,
yeah, like
yeah.
these guys are. I played with John Aloisi in my team in Sydney, and playing with these players, you kind of get a feeling of where you sit in the football
Yes,
world, right?
yes. These are
Not
these
saying
are world class players.
exactly. These guys have played in World Cups, right? So it got to that point where, and I'm not playing down Malaysia or anything like that.
No, no, not at all.
I just think that when I came to Malaysia, the opportunity arose for me to become a heritage player, and then that was the choice of, do I trade up the passports and become full-fledged Malaysian. And obviously I'll always have the Australian as my background because that was where I was born and raised. But again, I deep inside, I always say this to my family, deep inside I always had that sense of yearning to find the place of where I really belong. And
True.
being in Malaysia and having a career in Malaysia, I truly feel like Malaysia is part of me. And I've truly felt that from when I first came here as well. So I think it was a pretty easy decision at the time.
Yes.
It was really, a conversation that lasted, 5 minutes. And it came down to, hey, we would, love to bring you in as a local player. Obviously, that opens up a foreign international talent spot. And I was all for that. So, it was, the first club that I was at, Kelantan, were the ones who pushed for me to become Malaysian and get the passport. And, I ran with it and, haven't looked back since. And it's been probably the best decision I've made in my footballing career.